Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Now today, I know I've done some walk around videos of my other vehicles. This one's not going to be a whole lot different, probably a little more cinematic, if you will. Trying some things out. So stick with me here, and I hope you enjoy it. Hey, what do you call this thing? Yeah, old man truck. Now before I get too far into this, do me a favor, go down, subscribe to the channel, especially if this is the second, third, fourth time you've been on a video of mine. I really do hope you enjoy them, and I hope you follow along for any future ones I make. But before we get too far into this, I got a couple things I need to do. I need to go put some gas in this thing, and I desperately need to hit the car wash. This thing's filthy. Like I said, it's my daily driver. It doesn't get a ton of love. F150 XLT, the extended cab. It's really nothing special. 5-liter automatic. It is 2-wheel drive, which is a little bit different to do something with mildly lifted truck, mud tires on it, all that. Really, this thing just needs to be functional. It doesn't need to be anything super custom. It doesn't need to be anything more than what it is, really. Just something dependable, something that runs good, something that's got power when I need it, and above all can haul stuff and tow my trailer with. It's just a solid old truck. Didn't start that way though. I'll put some pictures and stuff in here of kind of when I got it, to show you guys why I got it. If you haven't noticed yet, I tend to drive a lot of junk. And there's a reason for that. It's cheap. Now, one thing about driving old junk is it gives me plenty of opportunity to work on it. And for you guys, it gives me plenty of opportunity for content. Now this thing, ideally, I'm not going to be working on a whole lot. I don't want to spend a lot of time working on something that I just need to be reliable all the time. And so far it's been that. I've done a lot of stuff to it when I got it. Some just maintenance, tune-up type of stuff. A little bit of performance type of stuff. And more than anything, just fixing the suspension and all that. But we're pulling into the car wash here, and we'll get that going first. Now this truck does have a nickname. A lot of my trucks, a lot of my vehicles, I don't tend to get names. They may get a shortened version or something, but not really an actual nickname, and usually not anything with a meaning. The Ranger's the Ranger. The F-150s, well, I can't say that on YouTube. Long story for another day. Those of you guys that know, we'll have a laugh to ourselves. Anyway, this one actually does have a nickname. It's called the Old Man. And the reason behind the Old Man nickname is the big topper on the back. Now, you've probably seen it in some of the other clips. The first thing that was said when this thing got home is that you need to get rid of that topper. It makes you look like an old man. And my girls caught on to it, so they call it the Old Man truck. And it's kind of suiting for this thing. You know, it's not anything fancy. Here around the Midwest, this thing's exactly what you'd see a lot of old men driving around in. Probably bought the thing brand new. In fact, this was an old man's truck. But anyway, I never planned on actually leaving the topper on. I actually kind of thought it was hideous. Still do a little bit. But over time, I realized it's actually pretty damn useful, and just left it on. It's not hurting anything, and it's kind of grown on me over the years. So that's the history behind the nickname for the truck, and we got a lot more to get into. Ooh, taco truck. Now, when I originally bought this truck, I really didn't have any intent on keeping it. The suspension in the front was completely shot, which is part of the reason why he gave up on it. It had a gas tank that was rusted out and damaged and needed a fuel pump, along with a lot of other maintenance on this thing. And the previous owner decided it was time to just let it go. His original intent was he was just going to send it to the junkyard. You know, who wants a rusted out, broken down truck? It didn't run, it didn't drive at the time. I could get it to run. And if you haven't caught that yet, a lot of the vehicles that I get are either through the shop or through people that I know that have, either are giving up on it or they're broken down and not sure what to do with them. So, we make a deal on it. I get a truck for a fair price, or a car, whatever the case may be. And, they get their money out of it and can move on to something a little bit better. So when I first got this thing, like I said, the suspension was completely broken. I'll throw some pictures in here if I can find them of when I first got it and kind of what it looked like. But it needed a lot of work up there. And like I said, it had a rusted out, damaged gas tank. It had thrown a U-joint in the rear and actually chucked the drive shaft out on the interstate, so I had to put a drive shaft in it and some U-joints, fuel pump, fuel filter, and redo the exhaust. When the drive shaft got thrown out, it whipped around a little bit and had taken out the exhaust, which was unfortunate because he had just put a new exhaust on within the last few years. So then from that point, it was just a matter of getting it running and driving. I'd put a gas tank in it, fuel pump, fuel filter. I'd got that drive shaft put in it and wasn't too concerned with the exhaust just yet because I wanted to make sure that it ran and drove. So with those things done, I knew that the motor would run at that point. It was misfiring, it was not running great, but I knew it ran and I knew the transmission worked. So I had a good starting point. I was comfortable, proceeding with it. Originally, I'd bought the truck just for the motor. I haven't featured it yet on the channel, and probably won't for a while, unfortunately. I have a 67 Mustang that was my first car, and I still have it. Like I said before, this thing does have a 5.0 in it, and that was the intent with buying this truck, was I was gonna pull it's a roller 5.0. I was gonna pull it out and made it up to a 5-speed and throw it in that Mustang and start working on that thing. Really what I ended up running into was that I figured I'd throw some time and some money at the engine and make sure it was good, because that was the original intent. As long as the engine was good, I was going to be happy. I could drive it around for a little bit and just kind of sort out any bugs, but other than that, the engine was going to come out and the truck was going to go on its way. Well, what happened after that point was I started working on the engine, and it ran really, really well. I got the tune-up done, some other basic stuff, nothing too major. Upgraded to the bigger radiator because it had an issue. Ended up putting some headers on it, doing a little bit of work here and there, upgrading some parts as I went, and it actually became a really strong running truck. With the headers, of course, I needed exhaust anyway, so I had some dual exhaust put on it. And then from there, I just started driving it. And really, the more I drove it, I started enjoying it more. So I decided that I was okay to fix some stuff on this thing. Why wouldn't I, you know? So from there, I dove into the front end. I hadn't driven it a whole ton because of the issues in the front end, which mainly just from work to home. Luckily for me, that's a pretty short drive. So I wasn't racking up a ton of miles, but in the few miles that I did drive it, I realized that I actually did like the old thing. Interior wise, this thing's super clean. It's got a little crack on the dash and just a little bit of wear on the seats, but really, honestly, most of that wear's from me getting in and out with dirty jeans on from working on junk all day. So I went ahead, I bought some new coil springs, I bought some new shocks, put a little bit of a leveling kit on it just to get it up out of that two-wheel drive stance and bring it up and make it a little more functional. And then I happened to luck out. We had a customer come into the shop with an old C10 that he had a few different sets of wheels in the back that he really didn't know what to do with. Asked if we were interested in taking them just to throw in our scrap trailer, and I took a look at them. I'm always, one to look for deals, and they just happened to be this old set of Eagle alloys in the back that were 5-on-5 and 5-on-5.5, which is what this truck is. So again, kind of like the truck, I decided to put a little bit of elbow grease into them and see if they'd come back to life. Sure enough, they did. And they actually turned out really nice. This truck needed tires anyway, so I went ahead and, why wouldn't I, make a little bit of an upgrade, put some mud tires on it. If you guys couldn't tell already, I'm more the type to lower things, static drops, air ride, stuff like that. So lifted trucks, I've only really had one in the past, and really don't ever have much for four-wheel drive, surprisingly. Living in Iowa with our winters and everything we get here, four-wheel drive's definitely handy, but I've always made do with two-wheel drive and I get around just fine. So I figured, what the hell, I'll throw some mud tires on it just for that look and for, traction in the winter, stuff like that, gets me around, and it does really well. It actually gets around really well in the winter. I think there's enough weight to this old girl that she doesn't have any problem biting in and just getting going. I haven't got stuck in it yet. I don't get out on any crazy adventures with it, but I do have a little fun, play around in it a little bit. So from there, it was really just kind of keep maintaining on it. Oil changes, grease everything up, fix things here and there where I can. A little bit of, cosmetic work. Upgraded the headlights and stuff like that. These old factory headlights on these things are just abysmal. You can't see anything, so put a nicer set of headlights on it. A little bit of appearance things here and there. And then, pretty much like anything else I own, had to throw some stereo in it. It's nothing crazy in this thing. It's an old Kenwood head unit, some 6.5-inch components in the doors, and then some 5x7s back in the back. And, it gets the job done. I don't have any subs in this one. I don't have anything too crazy, but the majority of the time that I'm driving this thing, I'm just going back and forth to work, or, you know, hauling the family around, and I'm not going to be blasting tunes and doing all that with a bunch of kiddos in the back. So if you couldn't tell yet, pretty much everything I own is, I don't want to call it junk, because I try not to keep it junk, but when I got it, it was definitely all junk. The majority of the things that I own and drive were bound for either a fence row somewhere or headed to the junkyard. The F-150 was literally getting ready to get loaded up on a trailer and get taken to the junkyard to get crushed, and I saved it. It was a buddy of mine that had it, and we struck a deal, and I got it home, started working on it. This old gal was kind of the same story. Some of my other rides, I just did the walk around. If you haven't seen that yet, go check it out. I did the walk around of my F100. That's another one that was just kind of sitting on the fence row, left to rot, and picked that thing up and brought it back, and now it just sits in my garage. But anyway, saved it from just rusting to nothing. I think a history with these trucks and the story that they tell and just all the little things about them is what make them interesting to drive. You go buy a brand new car or truck off the lot and it doesn't have a story. It doesn't have any history. You know, part of owning these old vehicles to me is that there's a charm to it. There's a story that they tell. Every creak and rattle and groan is a different part of that truck's story or that car's story, and it becomes endearing. You grow to love these old things, and not because it's the nicest, not because it's the fastest or the loudest or the mostest anything, but because it's yours and because you've become a part of its story just as much as it's become a part of your story. And I'm sure you guys can relate to that. I know there's a lot of you out there watching that, you know, have had multiple vehicles over the years, and you either learn from them or you have some fun adventures in them, or you share times with your family or friends or something. There's always a story to it. So even though this thing isn't the nicest or the fanciest vehicle on the road, like I said, it's mine, and I think the story's kind of fun with it, and I hope you enjoy it too. Alright, so got this thing pretty well cleaned up. I'm gonna go out to a top secret location and get a little bit of pretty footage for you guys. Not that this thing's that pretty, but might as well do something. I got the kiddos with me, and we're just taking a nice little cruise. Hey, what do you call this thing?
Old truck.
Yeah, old man truck. Anyway, I got the AC ripping in this thing. Kind of a requirement of the old daily driver these days. I'm not getting any younger. So, AC is ripping ice cold. Good heat in the winter. These trucks, if you've ever owned one, you know how they are. These things will cook you out of here in the winter and freeze you out in the summer. And that's perfect for a daily driver. So, nice little cruise here, and we'll get some cool shots. much wrap it up. We went out, had a little bit of fun, goofed around, played with the cat, went and saw the rest of the property and checked things out. Had a good time, so we're on the way home. So if you enjoyed the video, do me a favor, go down, give the video a like, and make sure you subscribe to the channel to follow along for all my projects and any other videos I may do in the meantime. But otherwise, I think you got something to say, sister? No? Alright. Well, that'll pretty much wrap it up then. Or you know, wave. Yeah. Alright. Well, that'll pretty much do it. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll catch you next time.